I think this will be not tilted also. थोड़ा हो जाएगा. Now that I'm conscious of it, so I think it should be less of a problem. पहले तो I was not aware कि जो है ये issue आ रहा है. तो आपको जैसा आपका नॉर्मल रहता है आप कर लीजिए. उन्होंने जो मैडम ने अपने बीच में सब्स्टिट्यूट किया था, did she take a marketing only or some other subject? PC1 is?
Functions of the name of the subject.
Yeah. Marketing का नहीं था. So I continue from where I just started. Welcome, students. Good morning, students. Welcome to the today's session of marketing management. We had done up to branding in the previous session. We start with the packaging decisions in the today's session and take up subsequently other subjects also. Packaging over a period has become important enough to be considered as the fifth P of the marketing mix. We have talked of four P's of marketing mix: product, price, place, and promotion. Packaging is now rated important enough to be considered the fifth P of the marketing mix. To define it, packaging is the art, science, and technology of preparing goods for transport and sale. Packaging will be required for helping in physical handling, ease of storage, ease of transportation, and for ease of sale of the packaged goods. Without packaging, all these functions will be little more difficult. Possibility of damage will be more, possibility of mishandling in storage and transportation will be much higher. So that is why packaging becomes more important, so that there is no damage. There are two distinct elements of the packaging function as such. One is packaging material and then designing the package. Package material could be different types, and the element which you use has a cost, and then that material has to be malleable enough to be reduced to different kinds of packages for packing, storing different types of products. So the design, the measurements, length, breadth of the different types of packages will differ. And proper designing of the package is by itself a subject for the market research. So properly packaged product enhances the value of the product which is packaged there in it. So that is why it becomes even more important. There are two distinct segments of this, what I said earlier: packaging material, and then the firms which are engaged in the converting this packaging material into different types of master packages or the unit packages. Of course, there are firms which are engaged in labeling of the labels which are pasted on those packages. They are the ones, and they keep on trying to find out ways of how to find better and better ways of packing material and how to do the actual packaging in a better way, designing the package itself in a better way. Some of the materials which are being used are metals, plastics, wood, paper, glass, polyester, what we call PET, normal term used PET. Now, the choice of packaging material depends upon the value of the product which will be carried in it, because each of these costs some money. When a higher quality material is used, it offers better safety, better protection for the product which is carried, and then there is a cost to it. So there has to be a trade-off between the cost of packaging and the benefits which are derived from it. If the possibility of loss or damage from the packaging is less and the cost is more, then that much extra expenditure on packaging can be avoided and should be avoided, because after all the business is run for earning profit. So there has to be trade-off between the cost of packaging and the possibility of loss or damage because of the poor packaging. Advantages, of course, we had mentioned earlier that there's a possibility of loss damage during the handling is reduced. In terms of storage, the stacking becomes better because if the packaging is good, then you can store one on top of the other. Whereas if the packaging is not good, then the stacking height cannot be more than a certain height. Because if you load more than that, the ones which are at the bottom can get damaged. Then for certain items, like say food, there has to be, what is food grade material for packaging. It should not cause any contamination to the food. Similarly, for the medicines and the pharmaceutical items, there has to be better quality material which is suitable for that. And post usage of the packaging, once the goods have been taken out, it should be possible to collapse that package and dispose it off in an easy manner. If it is not collapsible, then the disposal itself becomes a problem. It should not leave any particles in the food on the item which has been packed, because that can cause damage, particularly say carbon particles, etc. For the highly technical products can cause damage. The dust and carbon or moisture can cause damage to the articles there. It should also appeal to the customer. The packaging should be such that customer is attracted, because the first look is at the package, not at the actual product. Of course, the customer, when he has decided, he has had some idea about what will be there inside. But if the package is good enough, it will attract attention. So it should not only protect, it should appeal to the customer. And then the product should be able to perform the function for which it was designed. It should offer convenience for the distribution, and it should be cost effective. As I mentioned earlier, that the cost benefit trade-off has to be done. In certain issues, there are some regulations by the government also. Like say for the food articles, there are regulations by the government about what kind of packaging materials can be used, what should be the chemical composition of that, so that there is no harm caused to the food and those who consume the food packed in those products. Then for say the hazardous kind of cargo, say acids or other corrosive materials, for that you need special kind of packaging, because it should not come in contact with other items, other material, and cause damage to them. Government regulations also require that there should be proper labels on the package. This labeling requirement is to be able to give knowledge, say in case of medicines, what are the ingredients which go into that, what is the date of manufacture, what is the date of expiry, which company has manufactured it, or if it is imported one, which company has marketed it in this thing. And for the food grade articles, again the packaging expiry, then maybe whether it is having any non-veg items, you have this green and red dots to indicate purely vegetarian, or having some non-veg inputs into it. Similarly, for the cosmetics, for the toiletries, all for them, there are requirements to put certain information about the product on the label itself, which makes it easier for the customer to find out if it is close to the expiry date or if it has already expired. Because it may be possible for the retailers to try to pass on the product as it is. That in fact, that is the reason why this kind of regulations are brought into force. Of course, if once a person has developed some affinity to a particular type of brand or this thing, the label helps him determine, yes, this is the product which he is looking for. He doesn't need to try to find the details of that. This particular brand having this label means he's already used it, so it is good enough. Because this sometimes the requirement is that it's not only should be written word, it should be graphic display also. Like for the those who are not literate, like danger, you have certain graphic pictorial display of that to indicate that yes, this is a substance is dangerous. And not only graphic display, it has to be, sometimes it has to be in English as well as a local language, so that those who are may not be familiar with the English as such, they can uh, take advantage of the local language to become aware of the what all is contained therein. So this is again, this slide shows the statutory requirements, what all is basic, which must be put on the label in terms of like net weight when packed. There can be some weight loss due to moisture and drying up subsequently. So net weight when packed, manufacturer expiry, MRP, if included local taxes or excluding local taxes. Then if there are some certain items which require special kind of storage directions, that is also indicated. Like certain items will require refrigerations. That happens, but mainly for the food-related articles, medicines. Some have to be refrigerated at a particular temperature, not to be kept in shade, not to be put in the sun. Like those considerations, they are all indicated on the label. Then we come on to the next unit of your study, your subject, that is the product life cycle and new product development. Now, what is product life cycle? Just like humans have a life, and what the life cycle is birth, growth, maturity, adulthood, decline, old age, and death. Same happens for the product. Of course, we don't use the same terms. We talk in terms of the introduction. That is like birth of the human being, introduction of the product. Then, as the person grows, growth of the product, maturity stage when the product has stabilized in the market, and then finally it comes the decline. And after decline, again, it may be death of the product, death in the sense that product is withdrawn from the market. As far as product is concerned, that becomes the death of the product. Just like humans have a productive life, products also have a productive life and non-productive life. But the productive life for a product, so long it is giving profits to the organization which has introduced it to the market, it is productive. When the profits start declining or they become lower than what was expected, then that is a stage where it is entered into the non-productive life. Company may try to revive it or may decide to withdraw it at that stage. So productive life for products also there is limitation. It is not continuous. Nobody can expect that once the product is introduced, it will continue for the lifetime. It will continue indefinitely. There has to be definite lifetime. So there needs the companies monitor the product in terms of how much sales are being generated, how much profit is being generated, to be able to determine when it is nearing the end of the productive life. This is a pictorial representation of the product life cycle. The horizontal line shows the time and the vertical line shows the sales, introduction, growth, maturity, and the decline. Now you see the blue line that indicates the extension of the product. Extension beyond what can happen, what can the company do is that they try to revive the product by different kind of inputs. We'll discuss in details a little later. Like what happens for the humans. Humans have a life cycle. As you grow old, then you need more of preventive health care, maybe some medication to prolong life. Similar kind of inputs by way of different elements of product mix, marketing mix, they can be infused so that product life is extended and the decline starts little later, not early. It can be delayed. What can happen for the humans? Some people life is ends at 40 and someone goes to live beyond 100. Of course, genetic factors are there, but then better care, better medication helps a person live longer. That's why you see in the current scenario, our average life expectancy at birth has gone up. Same thing can happen for the products also. Their life can be extended. This is again a similar slide. It shows two items, sales and profit, indicating that when it is going towards maturity, the sales are increasing and so are the profits. And once the decline starts, the sales start declining and so do the profits. Profits also start declining at that stage. At the introduction stage, what is likely? What are the trend likely? I had used the term genetic. Something similar can happen for the products also. A product which is well designed, it will once it introduced into the market, its sales will pick up maybe slowly, but definitely it will start growing. It may so happen that the product is very well received right in the beginning itself. In that kind of scenario, the sales will start increasing very fast in the early stage itself. The introduction stage will be shorter and the growth stage will be much longer and start much earlier. A product which is very poorly designed, of course, will have a slow takeoff. It may have a short life, and in the initial stages, there may be no profit. There may be even loss at this thing. So, when we talk of new product development, we talk of these points. So, first scenario where the product is well designed is more likely. That happens on most of the products. Very well received or very poorly designed, they are in the terms of percentage, such instances are less. Because most of the time firms do undertake basic research before they introduce a product into the market. Growth stage, of course, growing as it is, like say when you are growing, what happens for the product? Growth means sales are growing. If the sales are growing, the production levels are higher. If you produce more, normally what happens is that production cost per unit goes down. And the distribution cost per unit also goes down. Net result is profits go up. This, of course, we will not go into the details, but it is well known that unit costs go down as the volume goes up. So that is what happens at the growth stage. At the maturity stage is when the product is well established in the market. But by then what can happen is that the competition starts moving in. The competitors know, but if once they know that a particular firm has introduced a product and which is well received in the market, profits are good. So naturally they will try to come up with the similar products in competition. So once they introduce new products, maybe they will be able to bring out better product or maybe similar product they may be able to introduce at a lower rate. So in any case, there will be pressure on the sales of that product for that particular firm. So maybe at that stage they may have to introduce more of the promotional efforts have to be done, advertising, publicity, or maybe they may have to add new features to the product. They may have to bring out a variant of the product which is better. See, it may be possible because of the technological considerations also. Technology makes it possible to improve upon the product. Like say what is happening for the mobile. Every couple of months, you find a new variant into the market. The same firms keep bringing out the new variants into the market. But at some stage, there is a saturation when it is not possible to go beyond. But I mentioned in the beginning also that you can try to prolong the maturity stage so that decline is delayed. But eventually, it has to be reach a stage where there will be no further growth. Profit will be stable. So long the profits are stable, it is still okay. But at stage when it is the sales start declining or the profits start declining, that is what we call the decline or the obsolescence stage. The product becomes obsolete. Like say products become obsolete because it may again happen, like say from the, if you take the example of mobiles, from 2G to 3G to 4G, now there is talk of 4G. Once the type of 5G from 4G, once the 5G becomes fully functional, then all your current mobiles will become obsolete, because unless those who are 5G compatible, some of them may be, but most of them will not be. So they become obsolete. So eventually, for every product, due to technical reasons, due to competition, or some other reason, change in customer preferences, consumer taste, the decline will start. So if the drop is rapid, the decline is rapid, then the company may withdraw the product from the market very early, or they may withdraw that product and bring out a new product, a better product in lieu of that. It could be a variant of the product for the extension of the maturity stage. If it is a new product, then end of the old one, and again the fresh cycle for that same again cycle of introduction, growth, decline, and this thing will start. So according to the life cycle stage of the product, you may have to have different kind of marketing measures. You may have to have, like if a new product is introduced, you may have to spend more on the promotion, advertising, publicity to make people aware what your product is, what kind of benefits it will give, at what price it is available, at which place it is available. So all that has to be told to the customer. You have to set up the distribution channels. So the marketing mix, the combination of 4 P's within the marketing mix has to be of a different nature. Once a new product is introduced in the market, the customers may buy the new product just out of the curiosity factor. That let us try. But repeat by the continuous growth will be only if the customers find that the product is good enough. It gives them some benefits. At the growth stage, once the product is well received in the market, it started growing, then maybe the promotional expenses can be curtailed, but you may have to spend more on the distribution, add more distribution channels, add more places add more market segments to your market. So then the emphasis shifts from the promotion to the distribution, or maybe again depending on the kind of product and the kind of market, a different combination of depending on for the other P's also can be introduced. Maturity stage is normally longest of the 4 stages, and here basically what the firm has to do is keep a watch for what competition is doing, and accordingly the reaction has to be there. If the competition is come out with a product which is giving competition for your product, then maybe you have to emphasize more on the product part of the marketing mix by trying to improve upon the product, a variant of the product, adding some features to the product. or maybe to be able to compete, concentrate more on the price, reduce the price so that you are at par, or maybe you are able to offer it lower than your competition. So emphasis may shift to the price and the product. Decline stage again depends. No, accordingly you will have to think of what to do. You may have to decide which particular P of the four P's has to be given more emphasis vis-a-vis the others. So it is maybe possible that you are able to bring out a better variant, and then you are able to continue that, and you are able to reduce the price because of the technological innovations. You may be able to continue, you may be able to add new markets. The sales will be declining in the current market segments, but there will be other market segments which are available. You can expand to that. All these possibilities can be explored. You can try to give more incentives to the distribution channels so that they try to push more of your product vis-a-vis others. All these documents can be explored. Now we come to the new product development. Once you decide to introduce a new product, how do you go about it? The first stage is when you try to generate new ideas, that what can be done, what kind of products can be introduced into the market. There are a whole lot of ideas may be thrown up. Out of that, you will have to do the screening. Which ones are worth pursuing further? All may not be, because of the different constraints of the resources, constraints of the relevant experience, managerial talent, so many constraints will be there. So you have to do the screening of those ideas and find out which ones can be pursued further. Having decided that, then you develop the concept, and having developed the concept, you do the testing of it, that whether that, again, before you go for the physical product, whether this should be pushed further or not. If the concept is considered successful, concept testing is fine, then you actually design a product, a prototype of the product, and evaluate that. Try to make use of the prototype and find out how in actual usage, in actual practice, what is the outcome, whether it needs further improvement, whether it is okay as it is, or whether it is not good enough, it must be dropped at that stage itself. No further pursuing that. If it comes out well, prototype is well received, you find that it can be pushed further, then you bring out it on a limited scale and do the testing of the product. Well received, then the company may think in terms of the commercial launching of the product. It may introduced on a mass scale at a commercial basis. This could be the possible alternatives which may happen. In the test marketing, if the sales are excellent, it's well received, then you simply launch the product, nothing more to be done. If the sales are just fair, not excellent category, then you may modify the product, or you may organize a new market test. You may do some changes and then introduce it fresh in the test for the test marketing. Again, the three possible scenarios remain the same: excellent sales, fair sales, or the poor sales. If the sales remain poor, then modify the product if possible. If there is no scope for modification or no scope for going for a commercial level of production, you must simply drop the product. So, new product development, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the product life cycle, is done after a lot of efforts, a lot of thinking, the thought process, the practical working, efforts are put in. So that is why we had mentioned that it is more likely to be in the category of the fairly well received category. Now, having launched the product, what is the product has come to the market? what will be the next important step? At what rate it should be priced? What price company should charge for that product? So that brings us to the next level, unit of this thing, pricing decisions. Why price is important? Price, for one, is a very important variable as far as the competition is concerned. Your price cannot be higher than what competition is offering for the similar product. Of course, if there's variation in the product, changes in the product, then it is different story. But for the similar level of product, similar quality of product, price has to be as to match the competition. And since it is a source of revenue, it must cover the cost of production. If the price is fixed lower than the overall cost of production of the item, eventually there will be loss. Of course, when we come subsequently to the part of pricing, initially the firm may think in terms of charging a lower price just to get a foothold in the market. But that can be only for the short term. Eventually, in the long run, the price of the product must cover all the costs of production and leave some profit margin also. Of course, price cannot be so high that it drives away the customers. Customers should not run away from the product just because of the price. So, price becomes an important marketing tool. That is why within the, it is one of the 4 P's in the marketing mix. For the customer, it is one of the important considerations when he decides to buy a product. Like depending on the disposable income with each individual, whether we go for a particular type of product and particular model of the product. Same product may have different models, slightly less costly, middle level, very costly ones. So the customer has this important consideration. The price is important consideration for him to decide what to buy. And because of that, how much of the product will be sold, that depends on the price. That's a direct function of the price. So what are the considerations you have to take into account when determining the price of the product? First and foremost is the cost of production. How much is it costing? Then the demand for the product. How much is the demand? And demand is again linked to the price. Demand at a particular price. Then what the competition is charging, what the competition is doing. The demand, as per the law of demand, you must have done in economics, those who are from the economics and commerce background. What does it say? It says that higher the price, lower the demand. Or reverse is also true. Lower price, higher the demand. So there is an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. Of course, there could be some exceptions to the law of demand, like goods which have a snob appeal, diamonds, jewelry. For them, this law of demand doesn't apply. And there may be other items, some other necessities. Again, the necessities you buy in any case, you don't compromise. To maybe extreme cases, you will have to curtail, but normally you will not like to curtail the purchase of necessities. Other than this, what other considerations are there? Income level. Higher the income, more the demand for a particular product for those who can afford that within their income levels. Then the price of substitutes. What are the substitutes available for that product? If their price goes down, people may shift their demand to the substitute, not to buy this product. Customers' preferences may undergo a change. Maybe you are able to do more of promotion and advertising, publicity and all, then you are maybe still be able to persuade the customers to buy your product. It can so even happen that general income levels go up, disposable income level with the individuals go up, so they shift their demand to, like, it can happen that if the income goes up, people may shift their demands from, say, coarse grains to the finer grains. That is a function of the income. not of the price. Price may remain same, price may remain low, but still the demand may fall. A related concept in this is elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demands tells us that if for a given change in the price, how much will be the impact on the demand. Like say if the price is brought down by 10%, will the demand go up by 10% or more than 10% or less than 10%? If it goes by more than 10%, more than the corresponding change in the demand is more than the corresponding decline in the price, then the demand is said to be highly elastic. If it is less, then it is inelastic. There may be very few things which are no perfectly elastic or very few which are no non-elastic at all. But somehow, most of the products fall in between, highly elastic or less elastic. And of course, the related concept to elasticity is not related to price only; it is related to the income as well as cross elasticity, that is with the reference to the substitutes. So if the smaller change in price, higher corresponding change in the demand, highly elastic. Luxuries normally tend to be in that category. Necessities tend to be inelastic most of the time. Like say salt, price of salt may go up from say rupees 5 per kg to 10 per kg or from 10 to 15 per kg. Your demand for salt may not go down. So that is inelastic. The quantity demanded may remain the same. The other than necessities, the impact of the price is much higher. Most of them tend to be in the elastic category. Income elasticity of demand, as I mentioned earlier, is relatively inelastic, and for a luxury is relatively elastic. We had talked about the price elasticity, we are talking about the income elasticity. Like say income goes up from I to I1, quantity demanded goes in the same ratio from Q to Q1. Cross elasticities between the substitutes, like say between tea and coffee. If the price of coffee goes up, say this is the current scenario that prices of coffee have gone up much higher than the prices of tea. So I don't have the ready figures, but you'll find that more people may shift from coffee to the tea. So the demand for tea is not related to the price of the tea. Demand of the tea is related to the price of the substitute, the coffee. Or say if because of the higher fuel price, the petrol and diesel costs have gone up, so fewer people use the personal transport less, and the end result may be that the demand for parking also goes down. This we have done earlier already. This indicates now that possible scenarios: perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic. These two are the extreme cases. Very few instances of that. Most of them fall in the category of 2, 3, and 4. Inelastic, unitary elastic means that changes up to same level, same percentage. Percentage in price and the percentage in the quantity demanded is equal. How much control you have over the price? We had talked about in the beginning, that other competition is also one of the considerations. Cost is one, prices are one, demand is one. Competition also has a influence on the. It is possible if you have a monopoly, if you are a monopolist, like monopolist is no one, you are the only one who can supply that product. Then monopolist is in a position to fix prices at his discretion. He need not try to find out what the market conditions are. because no one else is available, no one is there who can supply the same thing. Or it may be a situation of imperfect competition when there are very small number of producers or suppliers of that particular market, and it is possible for them to exercise some discretion in the this category. Opposite of that is perfect competition. Perfect competition is a situation where there are a large number of buyers and sellers, and none of them is in a position to influence the price because of their share into the production. What quantity they bring to the market is so small that they cannot affect the overall demand and supply in the market. So the price will be determined by at the stage where the overall demand in the market and overall supply in the market match. This is the pricing under the perfect competition. Total demand, total supply, and is the point of equilibrium. So, in case of perfect competition, the sellers have to take this price as given. They have no discretion. If they are in a position to sell at that price, they can. Otherwise, they may have to withdraw from the market, drop the product. If the cost of production is higher than the price which they are able to charge under this condition, they have no option. They cannot survive. Monopoly, again, I said, of course, one consideration in case of even monopoly is that monopolist has discretion, but he cannot charge a price which is not acceptable to the consumer. Like if the price is so high that it is a consumer cannot afford. So there will be no buyer in the market. So then his monopoly situation has no value. And of course, the substitutes also will make a difference. So even the monopolist has constraints. He cannot charge whatever he thinks, whatever he wants. No, there are limitations on that also. Oligopoly is few sellers, which are limited number of sellers, like some of the items which are tires, cement. There are small number of players, and they normally they may make a cartel, and together they decide that they'll charge a particular price. They follow the philosophy of live and let live, or it may be that. There are the one firm who is very large, whose market share is very high, so he becomes the price leader. Whatever price he charges, other players, smaller players in that category, in that particular commodity category, will charge that. Or it may be further brought down to the stage where there is a duopoly. Duopoly is there. Monopoly, there is only one seller. Duopoly, there are only two players in the market. Like it can happen in certain categories. Flipkart and Amazon in the e-commerce, Ola versus Uber in the cab aggregator thing, Zomato versus Swiggy, online food processing. That is, there are just two players. Of course, it is not that they continue to be only two players. See, if they are making good profits, the others will try to join in. The competition will increase eventually. Same situation cannot continue indefinitely. Monopolistic competition again stems from that. Will not repeat that again. Cost we had discussed partly already. So again, but this much can be emphasized that costs are the determining factor in the pricing. But costs are not easy to measure, particularly if there is a multi-product company. There may be so many costs which are come in the category of joint costs or common costs. Like say in the one example can be taken is of the railways. The railways provide goods services and then they provide passenger services, coaching services. Now within the passenger services they have first AC, second AC, 3 AC, sleeper class, Rajdhani Shatabdi, Mail Express, ordinary passenger trains. The buildings, the structure, the staff, the track, overhead equipment, All these are ones which are used by all of them, and they become part of the common cost, joint cost. Now, suppose you want to determine how much does it cost to carry a ton of goods over a kilometer, or a passenger by passenger train over a kilometer, or a passenger by train, a Rajdhani train over a kilometer. How did you determine the cost? That means you have to allocate all those joint and common costs over each individual service. Same way for a manufacturing company. Say there are certain costs which are common: headquarter, top management, and the other facilities which are commonly jointly used by that company. That they have to be allocated over the individual products. Determining that can become difficult. It may be very easy for maybe a single location, single product company, but otherwise it requires a lot of effort to determine, and at times it may be just a guesstimate, not exact precise calculation, just a rough idea of how much does it cost, or how much out of the common cost should be allocated to a particular service, and the price may be determined according to that. So, against this background, what are the all different methods used for deciding what price to charge? Because two major categories which we can determine is, one is based on the cost oriented, and other is based on the competition oriented. Cost oriented can be further broken down into cost plus the cost of production plus some profit margin, or it could be that full cost, whatever is determined, that is to be charged. Or company may decide that it must be this much percentage, or maybe in absolute terms of return must be there. Like cost plus maybe cost for production plus 5% return. But the company may decide that 5% is not good enough. I should have minimum 10% or 15% return. So that becomes the basis of deciding the price. That becomes the target price for the product. Marginal cost of product. Marginal cost of product basically is the cost of producing that one extra unit. To explain it in brief, there are two kinds of costs: fixed costs and the variable costs. Fixed costs remain fixed irrespective of the level of productions. Variable costs change with the level of production. Now what happens is that since fixed costs get divided over the production level, so higher the production, the unit cost from the fixed cost, unit fixed cost per unit goes down. So as the production levels go up, the cost of production may go down because of distribution of fixed costs over a larger volume, larger number of units. So if you produce more after beyond a certain stage, your cost of producing that may be lower. So company may decide to go on producing till the marginal cost is covered. That may be the basis for pricing, because fixed cost will remain, variable cost will be same irrespective of the fixed cost will remain same, but unit cost will go down with a higher level of production, whereas variable cost will remain the same per unit irrespective of the level of production. Then the competition oriented, there could be two possibilities. One is, as mentioned earlier, that in case like a perfect competition kind of situation, where what is the going market rate? Company has to accept that. Company cannot manipulate that. He cannot affect that. It is given in the market, it is the going market rate, so company also makes it available at the going market rate. Or it may be based on what is the normally charged. Normally charged, there may be different customary pricing for different variants of the product. Company will go by that. So company has to aim at the profit, company has to aim at the higher volume of sales so that the unit costs go down and profits are maximized. It may happen the company may decide for lower profit in the short term, but aim at the higher market share. Of course, the company has to take into account then what the customer thinks. Sometimes the customer, if they keep the price too low, the consumer may tend to think that product may be of poor quality. That is why they have kept the price low. It is not always that lower price attracts the customer. No, sometimes the opposite could be true. It may be a feeling that company is charging lower price because its quality is low. They don't think in terms of the companies taking lesser profit margin is kept low. No, that can happen. So this kind of customer thinking also has to be kept in mind with reference to the what is already in the market, what competition is offering. Because consumer may not have the exact knowledge of what all goes into the product, what exactly your cost of product. So he has to be convinced that yes, your product is good. It will be good in terms of quality. It will be durable. And at times, no, the price itself is taken as an indicator of the quality or the durability of the product. If the customer is thinking on those terms, then for a particular type of customers, like what we had used the term snob appeal, those who have the snob mentality, they may be attracted more by the higher price. That is why you find that some certain items are deliberately kept higher, because those are the markets where the fashion fads are concerned, where the prices are deliberately kept higher by the marketeers or the providers. Or it may be possible that quality remains the same, but the product which is more heavily advertised, which is promoted more aggressively, is able to attract more customers. Industrial goods, this we have been talking mainly of the consumer goods. Industrial goods are not which are bought by the business houses or the industries. Unlike average consumer, individual consumer, industrial houses are more aware of the what all goes into the goods, and since they buy more in terms of the quantity, that they buy large quantities, so they are more price conscious. They are better informed, so they act more rationally than the average consumer does. So he may even be aware of what is the actual cost of production. So he may be willing to give you some fair margin, but not a very high margin. So industrial goods considerations for pricing of industrial goods are slightly different. Of course, the basic thing that competition, cost, they remain. Over and above, these are the additional factors to be considered by them. Now, suppose you bring a new product into the market. What will be your basis of your pricing? How will you charge that product? There will be two possibilities. You may decide to skim the market. Skimming, you have heard the term of skimmed milk or toned milk, from which the cream has been taken out. So based on that, skimming price is one which you try to take the maximum possible advantage, maximum profit right in the beginning. So you consciously, purposely set a very high price so that before the competition comes into the market or competition copies your product, you are able to reap extraordinarily high profits in the beginning. Of course, this may be matched by high price, then high promotional expenditure also. And of course, even for the new product, it may be that you have to do the more promotion so that people become aware of your product. For that reason, also the promotional expenditure may be high. But in the early stages, product is likely to be less price elastic, and since it is a novelty, People may be attracted, those who want to try the new things, which is a novel product. So they may be attracted. So they may be willing to buy even at a higher price. And since it is a new product, possibility of substitutes being available in the market is low. So cross elasticity considerations also will not affect. So the for this kind of pricing, this thing, the idea is to earn maximum possible profits in the early introduction and early growth stage of the product. Opposite of that is the low penetration price. Like company may decide that they don't want a high price right in the beginning, but they don't want a high profit margin also in the beginning, but they want to have a foothold into the market, or they want to become a market leader. They want to have a higher market share. So company may consciously keep the profit margins low, and because of that consideration, try to drive up sales volume. Of course, if the sales volume is high, even at the lower price, the company may be able to earn the substantial profit. But because of the low price, the consumer base will be much bigger. More consumer may be attracted to will be willing to buy that product. So capturing the market, increasing the market share may be much easier. Of course, if the penetration price is kept low, the possibility of competition jumping in also is reduced because the profit margins are low. That may act as an entry barrier for the competition. When the profit margins are high or the prices are high, the competition may be attracted to enter the market at a much earlier stage. So whether to charge a penetration price or whether to charge a skimming price will depend upon the market conditions, your product. Company has to take, there cannot be any standard formula that this should be the basis of deciding or other things should be the basis of deciding. We come to the next stage of next P of the marketing mix, promotion. And with reference to that, we term integrated marketing communication. Since we are only few minutes left, we'll not be able to complete it. We'll continue with it in the next class. But to recapitulate, today we have discussed about the product life cycle, new product development, pricing decisions, and packaging of the product. These points we have covered. Promotion, I will just give you the introduction, not go into the details of this thing, which we'll do in the next session. Promotion is another P after the 4 Ps, which is important for the marketing function. The communication which the company has with its customers, existing or potential customers, is known as the promotion. Sometimes the term marketing communication is used. Just like we had 4 elements of the marketing mix, we have 4 elements of the promotion mix also. They are advertising, publicity, personal selling, and the sale promotion. It is possible to use these 4 components of the promotion mix in the different combinations. Again, like we had said earlier, that 4 P's of the marketing mix can be used in different combinations for different situations. Similar way, the 4 components of the communication mix or the promotion mix can be used differently in different stages. Advertising and publicity. Sometimes like people say that what is the difference between advertising and publicity? So advertising is what is paid for. Companies pay for the advertising, whereas publicity is not paid for. It is publicity. Company may get publicity on its own. So since it is not paid for, it may have less control also on it. We'll continue with it in the next class. We have done product pricing, Promotion we have just started. Promotion and the place, the distribution channels, and the digital marketing will continue in the next class. Thank you all.